I'm just wondering, have you ever painted what you thought was going to be a nice smooth wash, but you ended up with streaks or back runs or cauliflowers as they're sometimes called? Well, I used to do this same thing when I first started painting, and I thought that I was doing something wrong, but it turns out that I was just impatient and I was rushing the process. So here's a little tip. We're going to wet our paper, and we're going to do two puddles here. I'm going to do one at the top and one at the bottom, but I'm going to put my color in at two different times. So let me show you and explain. I'm going to put a puddle of water in right up here, and I'm putting quite a bit of water. I want to make sure that I have enough in order to come in here and put in my wash. So you can see that I have a nice puddle on there, and it's even puddling up a little bit when I turn my paper. So I'm going to put a good amount of water down here too. And what I'm going to do to show you what is causing you not to have a nice smooth wash and what's causing you to have those streaky places and cauliflowers and that kind of thing is, like I said, rushing the process. So up here, I'm going to go ahead and put on my paint. Now you see how when I dropped that paint on that it just took off across the paper like it was running a race? That is your first indication that you have too much water on your paper in order to get a nice smooth wash. See how the paint is just floating around, and when I move it, it kind of bunches up? Well, that's going to end up drying, probably with some little streaks in it, potentially some back runs. So we're just going to let that sit and dry. But then down here, I'm gonna lift my paper up. See how it's still shiny, but it's more of a satiny kind of shine. Do you see the difference in how the water, when I put the paint on there, how it didn't just take off running across the paper? That's a good indication that you probably have the right amount of water to paint ratio on there. And you're going to end up with a much smoother, nice wash with this one than you are with that one up there. So let's get enough color on here so that we can compare the two. And the difference between these is this one, I went ahead and jumped on in and put the paint down as soon as I put the water down. So you saw it just kind of splurged across the paper and was floating on top and just acting strange. But on this one, it gently went onto the paper and it did not try to take off like it was running a race. And this one will end up being smoother because I waited for the water to get sunk into the paper. And that is one of the things that is really key to getting a smooth wash, especially a wet into wet wash. Now, sometimes you can do a wet into dry, but what I'm focusing on right now is wet in wet washes. So let's give this time to dry and then we'll see what the outcome is. So here we are back after we have let these two dry. So as you can see, the one that I did that I had way too much water on and then put the paint on and it just kind of floated on top, when everything settled and it dried, it made this really funky looking, I don't even know what you'd call this in the middle, which in all honesty, if you wanted a background that had a lot of movement and texture, then this is definitely the way to go. Or you know what you could even do with this? Lately, I've had a ton of people say that they would love to learn to do waves, water, that kind of thing. You could really use this and turn this into a wave or some type of water scene just by doing some lifting of color and adding some more value here and there. So this has its place, but if you're going for this look right here, where you want a really smooth wash and you want it to be even and look good, then this one is the way you want to go. And all I did here was I added the exact same amount of water as was up here. However, I let this water sit on the paper and kind of start to get sunk in a little bit. And instead of being really shiny and when I move the paper, it puddles, it was a little more of a satin shine. And then when I put the water on, remember this one moved, but it didn't take off across the paper like this one. So these are the two variations of too much water for a wash and the right amount. So I hope that this has been beneficial to you and has helped to answer the question about how to prevent blooms and to get a smooth wash and water control. So there's 3 things to be learned in this quick little tutorial. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. I'm going to put my email address up here, and I'd love for you to check out my website. I have other tips and tutorials on there, and I'm going to put it right down here. So thank you so much for taking your time to watch this and hopefully learn something, and I hope to hear from you. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.